In the next 2 days, we're going to hear from a very diverse group of people, most of whom you probably never heard speak publicly before, although you're probably familiar with their name. They include strategists, marketing people, diamond people, retailers, and government officials. We open with the very top of the industry. We heard some inspiring words and a vision from President Buko on where Botswana wants to go. Next in the pipeline are the miners. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to invite to the stage the CEO of De Beers, Mr. Al Cook. Please. Welcome. Please, thank you. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, it's extraordinary to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
I want to start with some technical questions, if I may. It really comes from the fact that this is something that almost all traders ask me, and it has to do with production levels. So De Beers has set its production guidance for 24 at 23 to 26 million carats, which is about a 20% decrease from what you announced in the beginning of the year. I think people first want to know, what is the current perspective on production? What should the industry expect this? We have one site left, and then for next year.
Thank you. I like the way we start with the easy questions. If this is the warm-up, I don't know where we're going to go next. But look, it's a really important question. How do we produce? And I think one thing that's characterized De Beers and our partners over the years is producing responsibly into the demand that we see in the market. And we work with our partners in Botswana, in Namibia, in South Africa, elsewhere, to ensure that we produce responsibly with a real eye on the long-term value of diamonds. And that's really characterized these partnerships for decades. So if you look back a year ago, we said that we expected production to be between 29 and 32 million carats globally from De Beers. We've now reduced that by about 20%, down to 23 to 26 million carats. And as we come towards the end of the year, we're narrowing in on that. And I think it's really important that we do that because we have to understand that demand has come down over the course of the year. This is a challenging time in our industry. So we've been working in Botswana with Debswana to look at how we produce from Arapa and from Zwaneng. We've been working in Namibia, where we've been looking at what should the size of the fleet be that operates offshore, and should we remove some vessels there and reduce production there. We've been working in South Africa to look at the Venetia underground mine and how should we pace that underground mine to be responsibly developed. But the key here is that De Beers, as it always has done, will produce responsibly in a close partnership with Botswana and our other producing countries to ensure that we don't overproduce, we don't underproduce, but we produce towards prevailing demand.
So you don't know what demand will be?
We know it's come down over the last year, Edahn.
Okay, so the decline in supply is not purely an issue of demand, right? Part of it has to do that there are a dwindling of resources, and identifying a new significant new resources has been really crucial. What are the current possibilities for De Beers for discovering such a substantial deposit as a mega mine, as you guys tend to call it?
Very, very good. I think we need to start with some perspective on quite how challenging it is to find a diamond-bearing kimberlite. We in De Beers have spent more than $1 billion over the past couple of decades exploring for diamonds around the world. And across the industry in the 21st century, so here we are, 24 years in, across the industry, how many diamond discoveries, commercial diamond discoveries, has the industry made? The answer is one. One in 24 years with billions of dollars of spend. So Mother Nature hid her diamonds very carefully. And we have to use every element of technology we have to try to find out where new diamond deposits could be. I think for the industry, we are entering a prolonged period of supply decreasing. I think supply peaked around about 2008, and we're now on a decline. So diamonds are becoming rarer. They were always rare, and they are becoming rarer. We continue to explore for diamonds in fewer countries than we used to. Even 2 years ago, we were in Canada, we were in Brazil, we were in other places around the world exploring for diamonds. We're cutting that down. I'd like to mention 2 places that we're looking for diamonds. The first of those is Angola, and I know we've got representatives of the Angolan government here today as well, where we've got 2 concessions, Mukonda and Lumboma, and we are doing aerial surveys in those 2 concessions at the moment. The one diamond in the world, the one diamond deposit in the world that was discovered in the 21st century was in Angola. It's called Luele or Luache, and we're looking for diamonds there. The second place, though, is that as part of the new agreements with the Republic of Botswana, we have opened up the potential for the government and De Beers together to explore for diamonds in Botswana and really reinvigorate that. And my belief is the best place to explore for diamonds is near where you've discovered diamonds. And my goodness, there's no country on earth that has discovered more special resources of diamonds than Botswana. So I'd like to highlight those 2 areas where we're going to be exploring for diamonds. And particularly as we see His Excellency President Boko set out his plans for the development of the nation, we need to recognize that as a miner, it is a real privilege to be able to explore in a country with both a history of stability and a future focus on, as His Excellency put it, sustainability and ethics. So those come together, and I'm very excited about the exploration that we're doing, even if we know that exploration is an art of finding the needle in the haystack.
Absolutely. So let's take a broader view, and this is a little bit more strategic. Considering the changes in supply, who do you think what will be the major influence on the diamond sector's future? Demand or supply?
I think that's a fascinating question. And if you look at the reason that diamonds were so successful through the 20th century, it was the way that there was a balance between the creation of demand and the creation of supply. And I can look back to the early 1900s when people first started acquiring diamonds from southern Africa. And I can look back to the 1930s when, after the Wall Street crash, De Beers worked with then a little-known designer called Coco Chanel to democratize diamonds and bring them to the middle classes. And then you look at the great advertising campaigns starting in 1947 with "A Diamond is Forever" and how we built on that. And I think what's really important is that we continue to create that demand and then mine towards that demand. So we really need to focus on the creation of demand. What you're seeing at the moment is us working to really do what we call category marketing, the marketing of diamonds as a category, not brands, in a way that I don't think we've really done since 2010. And we really want to work to create that demand. So you ask, what's more important, supply or demand? I think they're both important, but demand needs to come ahead of supply. There's no point producing something that isn't required. So we need to work much harder to create that demand. And this is an appeal I would make to everyone in this room. Don't take demand for granted.
It's an important point because for many years this was a supply-driven market, and we shifted in the last few years into a demand-driven market, which at the end of the day means all of our focus shouldn't be to the question that I started with, what's happening with supply, but rather how do I generate the demand downstream. But let me, before we talk about that a little bit, so considering what you just said, what do you think this means for both governments and companies and how they will work together in the future?
I think it creates a really exciting opportunity. So if you look along the value chain, from upstream, the mining, the discovery of diamonds, to the midstream, the tracing, the cutting, the polishing of diamonds, to the downstream, the retail, the marketing of diamonds, I think there's an opportunity for companies and countries to work together in a way that we've never seen before. So it starts with the upstream, and it starts with governments working with investors like De Beers to ensure that diamonds are produced ethically and sustainably. I think that, as President Boko said, is incredibly important to modern consumers. They've got to be able to see where things come from, and they've got to be able to see that things were produced in the right way. So having that stability, that rule of law, that transparency is absolutely critical in the upstream. And the stories that we can tell together about the way that we've recovered diamonds, about the lives that have been enhanced by the production of diamonds, the livelihoods, the biodiversity, the work we're doing against climate change. They're extraordinary stories. So governments and companies working together there. In the midstream, we have an amazing opportunity. For the first time in the history of humanity, we can trace diamonds from their source to their retail, from mine to finger. You know, 100 years ago, if a remarkable diamond, the Cullinan diamond, was recovered, we could tell that story of the Cullinan mine, and we could bring that Cullinan diamond to markets and say this is where it came from. But we could never do that for the kind of diamonds that would appear on engagement rings and eternity bands in people in this room. We simply didn't have the technology to track it. For the first time in human history, through Tracer and other tools, we can track all diamonds. And we've made the promise in De Beers that we will trace all diamonds of 0.5 carats polished and above, starting in January. We can do that. Now, what that enables us to do, which we could never do before, is tell the story of an individual diamond. A retailer in the United States can say, this diamond came from Botswana, and this is the story of Botswana, and this is the good that that diamond has done in Botswana. These are the livelihoods it supported. We could never do that before. So countries and companies can work together in a way that we've never been able to before to trace those diamonds. And then I think the third thing is the marketing. And nowadays, it's a very different perception on marketing. I mentioned that advert, A Diamond is Forever, in 1947. If you look at that advertisement, it almost looks like the man giving the woman the diamond in that advertisement. It almost looks like that diamond was created out of nothing in the United States of America. There's no reference to where it came from. New consumers, Generation Z or millennials, we call them zillennials, you get it? Zillennials care about where their coffee is from. They want to know where their vegetables are from. If they buy some clothing, where was it made? And my goodness, they want to know where their diamonds are from. And increasingly we're going to see that trend. And we need governments and we need companies to speak about that. But we really have an opportunity here, I think, for countries to really talk more about the good that it brings. And that brings an authenticity which a company can't bring. Put simply, if someone from Namibia or Botswana or South Africa stands up and says, this is what diamonds mean to me, that brings with it an authenticity that is going to be critical to the appeal of diamonds, natural diamonds, that nothing else can match.
I think that deserves a round of applause. I think it deserves a round of applause because what you're saying, it's not transactional. These agreements between companies and countries, it goes beyond that. So on that note, let's talk about the agreement. Where does it stand? Where are we going? Can you give us an update, whatever you can?
I think the first thing to say is to reflect on the fact that the relationship between Botswana, the Republic of Botswana, and De Beers goes back more than half a century. So it's a relationship built on trust and ethics as well as on legal agreements. I knew you would be asking me about the status of the agreements, and I wanted to start with sharing a little secret. And that is that a long time ago, when I first came into this role, and I met my negotiating counterpart from the government of Botswana, Madame Emma Pelowet-Letsi, we agreed that we would keep our secrets a secret, and that we would not seek to negotiate in public. And although the negotiations proceed intensively, in fact, our teams were negotiating just last week in Gaborone, we've always maintained that, and that we won't talk about the details of the agreements in public. And I think that's enabled us to build a real sense of trust. But I would build on what the President said, which is the agreements are nearing completion. And I would go a little bit further than that, because I think this industry has a right to expect this agreement to be in place. With the election and with the new government coming in, we have seen an injection of energy, a real desire to say, let's get this done. Let's get this agreement done, and let's have the world's greatest diamond country and the world's greatest diamond company do this agreement and move on to work shoulder to shoulder with this industry to build beyond, to build the industry, to build the marketing, to build the desire for the diamonds that we produce.
I think it's very important, for years people used to say to me, we need it for stability, and I kind of took it tongue-in-cheek. But because it's been such a long time now, and because we're moving towards sustainability and traceability and the ability to have a discussion with the consumer about what's happening upstream, and they're actually asking for it, the ability to say we have an agreement is important not in the context of having it imported, it's important in the context of, so why is it still up in the air? Is there anything wrong? Is there anything I should be worried? And that's where the lack of confidence comes. So concluding this is vital to the industry. Thank you. De Beers is making several adjustments to its market strategy. So I want to ask if possible, does this involve an increase in activities related to polished diamonds?
So the first thing to say is to talk a little bit about what we're doing on marketing in general. So we're very much moving from a focus on brands like De Beers Jewelers, like Forevermark, to a focus on category marketing and the marketing of the story of diamonds. As part of that, we want to talk about our pride in the diamonds that we produce. And when we look at the countries in which we produce our diamonds, Canada, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, there's a real sense of pride there in the way that we work with host governments to produce our diamonds. The standards those governments set, I think, are some of the finest diamonds in the world, not just in terms of their beauty, but in terms of their ethics and their sustainability. So there's a real story to be told here. So what we're doing is, as part of our origin strategy, we are working together with our partners to evolve our rough diamond sales towards more polished sales. We believe, put simply, that diamonds from these countries that I've mentioned deserve a premium because of all the work and all the goodness that's gone into the recovery of those diamonds. We're working together with a number of site holders, and we're looking at what kind of polished partnerships we can put together. And this is a really good moment to do that because we've had our site holders for decades, and the new contracts with our site holders will be renewed at the beginning of 2026, so just over a year from now. So it's the ideal moment to look at our model and say, in addition to the way that we've been selling rough diamonds for decades, now what can we do by selling polished diamonds that really enable us to gain the premium that we believe diamonds from countries like Botswana deserve?
Will this involve the addition of manufacturing capabilities?
No. So I think one of the things that's really important as we evolve De Beers is to recognize what we're good at and what we're not good at. And what we believe we can be really great at is working with producer countries. We're pretty good at mining and marketing, working with retailers. But we believe that there are many companies out there, many companies actually in this great, beautiful hall that we're in, who are far better at cutting and polishing than we are, at manufacturing than we are. So we'll be seeking to work in partnership. I think if you look back at the story of De Beers, it's one of partnerships. And as we evolve into a new polished division, that polished division will be built on that same ethos of partnerships.
Purchasing of secondhand goods.
We don't see the demand
Recycling.
out there at the moment on recycling. We are getting to a point where there might well be more polished diamonds above the Earth's surface than below the Earth's surface. Diamonds are becoming rarer, but we haven't yet seen consumer desire for vintage diamonds yet in a way that would challenge that. So, never say never. I think there will come a time when there are no more diamonds left under the ground to be mined. And the wonderful thing about diamonds is they endure. And that could become an interesting thing to work on. But not right now.
Okay, so the policy right now is to not do it at this point. It's a possibility that you're leaving for the future. So you mentioned the site holders. There are ongoing discussions regarding what that list will be like. Could you elaborate about the principles that will guide you through the process, the selection, because this is always a moment of tension in these regions?
Certainly. So the first thing is we have a community with our site holders. We have 69 in that community. And we're working very transparently and talking to people about what the future held. We've had some very good meetings with our site holders around the world. I think the most recent one was in Hong Kong, under the leadership of Paul Rowley, who I think is very well known to every single person in this room. I've yet to meet anyone in the diamond industry that I can introduce Paul to. But under the leadership of Paul, we are going through a process that will go over really the next, where are we now, in late November. It'll go over the next half year or so, where we really work with our community of site holders. In terms of the principles, we want to move from quantity towards quality. And you can't have strategic relationships with 69 site holders. So we would like to have fewer site holders that we work in a deeper relationships with, deeper, more strategic partnerships with. We don't have a target in terms of the number of site holders. We see that as an output. We see quality of relationships as an input and number of partnerships as an output. But there's a real opportunity here to build those partnerships and to make sure that every partnership we have is adding value for this industry. There will be some partnerships around the polished side, some partnerships around the rough side, some partnerships around dealing, some partnerships that go all the way into retail. But every partnership must create value. And that's really important for all of our industry going forward.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Looking downstream a bit, in June you unveiled the Origins strategy at JCK in Las Vegas. We're about 6 months later. What is the current status? Where is it standing right now?
So there's been a lot of market turmoil, but one thing I hope that you've seen is that De Beers' strategy, which we first announced back in JCK, it feels more than 6 months ago now since we were all in Las Vegas. But we've kept to that strategy, and indeed that strategy was internally put in place 6 months before that, around about a year ago. So what does that strategy actually mean? The first thing is it's about making sure that De Beers does what we're good at. So we had everything from an iron ore royalty in Australia to Forevermark shops around the world. The first thing that we're doing is we're really streamlining the company, making ourselves lean, making sure there's no fat on us. And we disposed of our iron ore royalty for $150 million. We've pledged to the markets to take $100 million out of our overheads so that we can really continue our leadership role through this downturn. And that's meant some painful decisions, but we've made those and now we're moving forward. The second thing in the upstream is really about focusing. For example, I'll give you the example of Canada. We were exploring in Canada, we're not exploring anymore. We were looking at appraising the Gachagua underground project in Canada, we've stopped that. We were looking at moving forward with the Chidliak project, we've paused that. In Canada, we are just focused on operations, so that brings a real clarity to what we're doing. In the midstream, it's all about connecting the finger to the mine. It's all about building on this real technological ability we now have to work with our partners to ensure that we integrate across the midstream. Tracer is at the core of that, as are a number of other technologies. So it's a technical innovation there. In the downstream, it's about category marketing, and it's about the work that we're doing with Signet, with Chow Tai Fook, with Tanish, to really get behind retail partnerships that open up the diamond story to all of their customers. And really excitingly, we've just launched our campaign for independence. Sometimes people have talked to me over the last few months, and they've said, we like what you're doing with the Signets and the Tanishs and the Chow Tai Fooks, but what about the fact that actually it's the independent jewelers that really sell the most diamonds? So we've addressed that through our new campaign. We call that Forever Present. And then one more piece in the strategy that I think is really important, and a message I would like everyone in this hall to hear, and that is what we're doing with synthetic, with lab-grown diamonds. So since 1947, we've produced synthetic lab-grown diamonds, and we made the announcement that we would stop production of lab-grown diamonds for jewelry. Since then, we've doubled down on that promise. And if you ask, what's De Beers been doing? Look at element 6, where we have signed contracts with companies like Coherent, with Amazon Web Services, with Lockheed Martin. We've got a new contract that looks at using lab-grown diamonds to purify water, to get rid of the chemicals that are in water. But all the contracts have one thing in common. They're all around technology, and they're all around industry. They are not around jewelry. And in my view, lab-grown diamonds are wonderful, wonderful creations, but they belong on the edge of a drill bit, not on the edge of an engagement ring.
So element 6 is returning to its core business in a way. I actually want to ask you to elaborate a little bit on the point that you made before regarding Signet, Chow Tai Fook, etc. First of all, why do you think that upstream and midstream companies might consider investing in these sort of efforts, marketing efforts, and the advantages they could gain? I think that many in the midstream don't understand why they should have any tie-ins with retailers. What are the potential, we don't want to say everything is rosy, so what are the potential challenges of such a model? Could you give us a little bit of some details on this?
Sure. I think we need to start by acknowledging the challenges out there, because the challenges that we've seen coming from lab-grown diamonds in the United States and the way that's encroached upon the engagement ring market, the challenges we've seen in China, where the Chinese downturn has really pulled down diamond demand by 50% over the last couple of years. Extraordinary challenges. We cannot sit back and say, well, the challenges will take care of themselves. We must step up as an industry and work together on that. And that means countries and companies stepping up together to tell the story. It means retailers saying we need to work with companies like De Beers because we get our margins from selling natural diamonds. And it means the midstream, all of our site holders, all of those companies that manufacture diamonds, that create jewelry, everyone needs to work together on this. The scale of the challenge is so large that we all need to work together. And I want to be upbeat about the future. I truly believe in the future. But I also want to leave this room with a slight sense of discomfort in all our tummies, in all our stomachs, that we really need to work together. And everyone needs to step up to fight for the glorious future of natural diamonds. Everyone must step up and do their part. Ask not what diamonds can do for you. Ask what you can do for diamonds.
JFK. Considering these marketing initiatives, do you have a holiday outlook?
We actually are quite positively surprised by what we're seeing through this holiday period. So, I'll start with the famous Edahn Golan data, Tenoris, seeing, I think in October, Edahn, you registered jewelry sales going up 7.4% in October year on year. So that's a real positive start. We've seen data from a company called Edge, and they've looked at independent sales, and they've seen double-digit increases, around about 15% increases in October year on year in the diamond sales coming out of independents. And that's really important because they've also seen a 9% increase in price. And that talks a little bit about the desire of US consumers to buy higher priced natural diamond jewelry as well. And they move away from people buying lab-grown diamond, realizing that doesn't hold its value in the same way. So some quite encouraging trends. And overall, since President Trump was elected in the United States, the US stock markets are up. The last time I looked, it was around about 5%. So the people who would be buying diamonds, who would be buying jewelry through this holiday period, are on average 5% wealthier than they were prior to the elections. So we're seeing the signs of actually a holiday season that will probably be above the expectations that we in De Beers had. If you combine that with what's happening in India, where we've seen, real growth over the course of this year, double-digit, 10, 12% growth in Indian natural diamond sales over the course of 2024, and quite a strong holiday season there. I think we see all the signs that in the United States and India, which are the number 1 and number 2 markets, we've actually seen a better holiday season than we expected. China, of course, remains a black spot in terms of diamond sales. But interestingly, I was talking to Bain before this. If you take China out of luxury goods sales, actually year on year, luxury goods sales are up 2024 versus 2023. And that's another positive trend. So I think what we need to do is really get behind the holiday season in the United States, make sure we show those advertisements, we put those billboards up, we tell people more than ever about the wonderful story of natural diamonds in India, in the United States, in Europe, in the markets that are growing. Simultaneously, we need to make sure that we stabilize the Chinese market. But in answer to your question, I'm positively surprised by the momentum we see coming through the holiday season in the United States and India.
And you credit, at least partially, these marketing efforts?
I think it's too early to say. I think if you look at marketing efforts, what we've benefited from actually is half a century of marketing efforts between about 1939 and 2000, 2010. As an industry, we've benefited enormously from those. I remember as a kid sitting in front of my parents' television, watching the Silhouettes campaign on television in London. I still remember, these beautiful-looking people in shadows with a sparkling diamond ring and this evocative music playing. We've benefited, and I think as an industry, and I would include De Beers in this, we've taken that for granted too much. We haven't built enough on the shoulders of our forefathers. We've taken it for granted too much. We now need to step up our category marketing campaigns. But Sandrine Concé, who is the leader of our marketing efforts in De Beers would be the first to say, if it took 50, 60 years to build that desire for diamonds through those marketing campaigns, don't believe that 12 months, or still less, 6 months of marketing campaigns in the United States are going to make up for a decade of lost opportunity. We have to stand together and be prepared to work on this for the long term. The thing about diamonds is we all know that diamond is forever, and we all know that the partnerships and the efforts we make are for the long term. So personally, I would say I expect to see some positive impact of the new diamond campaigns in the course of 2024. But the reason that we, De Beers, are investing in category market like we haven't done in the past 10 years is for the long term. It's for the decades to come that we believe are going to be so critical for our industry.
I fully agree. I once heard a presentation by the CEO of BMW who said, to get somebody to buy one of our cars, they need to be exposed to our advertising for at least 20 years. Hoping maybe that they'll buy a car when they're 24. But in any case, so let you guys...
A few kids like me, age 15, watching TV at their parents' house.
Yeah. Right now, in this venue, you have the attention of your colleagues, other miners, manufacturers, traders, bankers, government officials, heads of state. Is there anything you would like to express as a final thought, when maybe related to marketing, to where you want to go, what you want to do?
Well, thank you. And it's an amazing opportunity and wonderful to see this room filled with the leaders of the diamond industry. I think I would hope that between the wonderful speech from His Excellency President Boko and myself, you can leave this conference confident that the 58-year partnership between the government of Botswana and De Beers has never been in better hands, has never been stronger, and we will work shoulder to shoulder as the leading diamond country and the leading diamond company. I hope that that is conveyed by the wonderful speech given by His Excellency the President. What I would leave, however, is with a broader message than that. We will take our leadership obligations very seriously. We'll work together shoulder to shoulder. But we need everyone to step up. We need everyone to play their role in talking about natural diamonds, in marketing natural diamonds, in cutting and polishing natural diamonds, in innovating, in driving sustainability in everything we do, in ensuring that everywhere, from the moment that a diamond is brought out of the ground to the moment that it's sold, we have the highest ethics of any industry and transparency of any industry in the world. We need to all work together on that. We need to all play our share in standing up and paying our bit towards diamond marketing, in playing our role, in telling our stories, in talking to our families, our friends, in putting that advertisement in a shop window, put that billboard up in a city. We all need to play our role in that. It's not enough simply for Botswana and De Beers to lead. Everyone needs to step up and play their role. Everyone needs to recognize the magnitude of the challenge here. Right now, you can make margins in lots of different ways, but we all know that for the health of our business in the long term, that's built on natural diamonds. It's really important that we all stand behind natural diamonds and we all keep the long term of this industry in mind. I look back on what's been done in my company over 136 years, and it's an enormous privilege to build on that. But the vision shown by our predecessors 150 years ago is the vision that we must show now. And I'll leave you with a simple thought, which is that if we come together, a diamond is forever. Thank you very much.
What you said right now very eloquently, I'll try to translate into a very simple, almost crude sentence. It's very difficult to reduce costs, but if we could increase price, At the end of the day, that's where our margins will come from. And that can only be done with branding, value, traceability, et cetera.
Absolutely.
And cooperating with retailers.
And perhaps we can end, Edahn, with our advertisement.
Yes.
And this is the latest advertisement. It's the first major video advertisement that we've done, really since 2010. We've done it in partnership with Signet, and now we're evolving it to be open to everyone. And it's based on a simple notion that we've done huge amounts of research over the last 2 years, particularly in the United States. And as people get married later, as they give an engagement ring later on in their lives, as marriage ages go up, people increasingly look to recognize that marriage is no longer boy meets girl. It's diverse. Marriage is no longer two 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds meeting. It's people in their 20s, in their 30s meeting. It's people who've evolved and bring the best of what they've been through as they meet that special person that they're going to spend the rest of their life with. And that sense of going through trials and tribulations, successes and failures, the creation, the formation of a relationship is one that's perfectly matched to a natural diamond, which has gone through billions of years of that. I'm a geologist, so I love this. It's gone through incredible experiences, this incredible unlikeliness that a diamond comes to the surface of the earth through volcanoes, through billions of years of creation at incredible temperatures and pressures. And we've drawn out that parallel in this advertisement, the parallel between the evolution of a relationship towards that one special person and the evolution of the Earth's mantle towards that one special diamond. So if we could play the video, that would be wonderful.
Love. It starts with self-worth. Because to find someone worthy of us, we must first be worthy ourselves. So we put in the work to grow, morph, and shape into the people we want to be by being pressure tested at every turn, by walking through the fire, as they say, by being patient and learning what we want and what we won't accept. Until one day, one special person walks through that door who has also done the work to grow, morph, and shape into the person they want to be. And together, we feel the earth move. That's when we're ready. When we've been polished, we're considered a gem. We have patiently become the best version of ourselves, so we can be the best version of us. The diamond you choose should match your journey, match the patience you took to find each other, and match the resilience that formed the essence of your cores. And that is a natural diamond, because just like your journey, a natural diamond is worth the wait.
Beautiful. Truly beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Al Cook. All good?
Thanks, Edahn.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.